Hello, Council Bluffs Area Chamber of Commerce members. This is Drew Kamp, President and CEO of the Council Bluffs Area Chamber of Commerce for the January 27th, 2023 weekly legislative update. As we wind down yet another week in the legislature, there's some key issues that I want to make sure that I touch on. But the first thing that I want to say is I just want to thank everyone who made our annual event last night on Thursday, January 26th possible. It was a hugely successful event. We had great turnout, good atmosphere, and we thank the Mid-America Center and Caesars and all of our sponsors, our staff, everyone who made that a possibility. We thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts, because that's a really good way to showcase in our community. And I think we had a very positive atmosphere to really speak to some of the great things we have going on here in Council Bluffs and Southwest Iowa. So thank you everyone for that. Jumping into some of the policy pieces that I wanted to touch on, I wanted to start off by the first thing is the Students First Act. That's the educational voucher program that has really kind of taken all of the time the first couple of weeks of session. So obviously hugely important to our schools and such. But one of the biggest things as far as what we look at from our priorities is we knew that was going to be one of the first things that got done, followed by SSA, the student supplemental aid, and the percent growth for the school districts. And then that's when we would start seeing some of the priorities we kind of had highlighted in our priority document kind of come to light. So we're kind of now seeing the property tax issue kind of now coming out of the Senate. The House put their bill out right away. It doesn't necessarily have a lot of support from both the other two legs of the stool, as far as we can tell so far, with the Senate and House and the governor's office. So we expect the Senate to kind of come out with their first bill of what could be multiple bills. We'll wait and see on that. We'll probably learn more about that here at our roundtable with Senator Dawson. But we know for a fact that the Senate bill is fairly imminent and should be out fairly soon, at least the first iteration of whatever bill they might put out there. And then in talking to Senator Dawson, he has made it clear that this is going to be multiple bills. It's such a huge issue, as we've seen with other pieces of income tax. Anytime you take on tax as an issue, it's so complex. To do it right, you really have to split it out. So we do expect it to be done in multiple different ways. And we look forward at hearing from Senator Dawson at our roundtable today over the lunch hour, but then also seeing what comes out in the first iteration of the bill and maybe some ideas that they have to address the issue and where their priorities are. With regards to medical malpractice, obviously being on a border with Nebraska having better malpractice and damage, non-economic damages, caps and things like that for malpractice and tort reform, that's hugely important for us. So we've seen that gain some support. It had already passed the Senate last year. We think it's getting more and more support in the House, where it's going to really have to gain additional support, because it didn't have it last year. So we think that we can get there, and we hope we can get there, because it's a major issue to our healthcare providers and really further talent attraction and retention efforts. And we stand with them in trying to help support that bill get over the finish line this year. Iowa Economic Development Authority, they have several bills out. They're part of the consolidation bill, taking on some cultural affairs, but they also have some pieces with the angel investor tax credit. I'm trying to bring that program back, and then also the mega site program. We do know with both property tax and the mega site program, mega site, think like $1 billion+ projects at like mega sites like we would have down south here in Mills County. But what we're looking at there is we understand that very likely with property tax or the mega site program, something will have to be given up, whether it's some kind of provisions within the high quality jobs program or it's some kind of piece with TIF. We know, especially in the House, that they're going to, well, House and Senate both, they're going to want to see something changed a little bit. Just if we're going to provide those additional forms of assistance, what are we going to kind of reevaluate to make that happen? And then another piece that we saw come out this week, but it didn't get anywhere, is 10-year prohibition. That obviously would be hugely impactful to Iowa State, Iowa, and Northern Iowa. But that's something that did not move out of the House Judiciary Committee. They did have a subcommittee. They did have discussion on it, but it's just something that did not move forward. And I know our region institution communities were definitely happy to see that in their talent attraction and retention efforts. Pipelines are also something that are getting a lot of attention, especially the carbon capture pipelines. We expect to see more and more bills come out of that as the session goes on, especially as it relates, as you can imagine, to landowner rights. So that's something we expect to see. There's also going to be some energy bills. So we'll obviously work with our utility partners and our other large utility users in the business and industry field to really kind of work through those bills as they come out. So as I mentioned, the biggest thing that you're going to want to watch now is really kind of seeing what happens with the state supplemental aid and school funding, because that's obviously a huge piece of the pie. Anytime you're dealing with the biggest piece of the pie, it's obviously a good idea to get that piece done first before you go at other things. So we expect that conversation to happen, then additional conversation on property tax and some of our other key priorities that I outlined in the update prior earlier in the update, excuse me. And the last thing I just wanted to say is, again, I just wanted to close out with thanks and gratitude. So many of you have such a big role in making our annual event successful, but it's not just the annual event. It's our operations each and every day, and all you guys showing up, being engaged, being participative, and really just making sure that we can excel at what we do and provide the best services possible to the community. So thank you to all of you. We really do have an amazing community here in Council Bluffs, and we look forward to continuing to serve you, not only on the advocacy front like we are right here, but obviously just as the voice of Iowa business at the Council Bluffs Area Chamber of Commerce. So thank you very much. Have a nice rest of the day.